Welcome to Wednesday Women, the audio essay that shines a spotlight on the achievements, contributions, and legacies of women whose stories deserve to be told and celebrated. From trailblazing entrepreneurs and pioneering scientists to unsung heroines and cultural icons. This audio essay dives deep into the lives of women who shaped history, challenged norms, and left an indelible mark on the world, often without the recognition they deserve.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
It's the holidays, and during this season, many networks air one of my all-time favorite films, The Sound of Music. As a kid, I watched it so many times I wore out the VHS tape. Years later, when I traveled to Austria, I couldn't resist touring the actual filming locations. So, let's deep dive into the real story behind Maria von Trapp and the von Trapp family, the family that inspired The Sound of Music. I've gathered a lot of great sources for this, including Maria von Trapp's autobiography, the story of the Trapp family singers, various historical accounts, and insights from family members. You might be surprised by how much the movie, while inspired by real events, took some liberties. Let's start with Maria herself. The movie shows her as a sweet, practically perfect governess, right? In reality, Maria had a much more unconventional background. She was orphaned at a young age, raised by a difficult relative, and even ran away at 15. Before her religious awakening, she was actually an atheist and a socialist, definitely not the image we get from the film. So, how did she end up as a novice in a convent? It was a dramatic shift triggered by a church service she attended, thinking it was a Bach concert. The priest's words and the music moved her so profoundly that she decided to dedicate her life to God. This path ultimately led her to the von Trapp family, but not as the full-time governess initially depicted on screen. She was first brought in as a tutor for one child who was recovering from scarlet fever, not all 7 at once. The children were already musically inclined before Maria arrived, which differs from the movie's portrayal of her teaching them everything. Another significant departure is the depiction of Captain Georg von Trapp. The film shows him as stern and anti-music, but in real life he was warm, supportive, and genuinely loved music. He sang with his children and encouraged their talents. Maria herself emphasized this in her autobiography, noting how inaccurately he was portrayed. It's also worth noting that Georg and Maria's relationship didn't unfold as a love at first sight romance. They married about 11 years before fleeing Austria, not right before. Maria admitted that she didn't love Georg when they married. She married him because of her deep affection for the children. Over time, their bond grew, evolving into a genuine love. Additionally, the family didn't just have 7 children. There were actually 10 in total. Georg had 7 from his first marriage, and he and Maria later had 3 more together. The family's financial situation was not as rosy as the film suggests. They were once wealthy, but the Great Depression hit them hard. They lost much of their fortune and had to rent out parts of their home. Singing, which had been a pastime, soon became a necessity. They started performing locally in Austria and in 1936 won the Salzburg Music Festival. This success helped them gain recognition at a time when they needed it most. A tense moment occurred while they were touring in Munich. By sheer coincidence, Hitler was dining at the same restaurant and requested to speak with them. The von Trapps were strongly anti-Nazi, and the meeting was extremely difficult for them. I cannot imagine what it had to have been like for Maria and Georg to look into the eyes of evil and feign through a conversation, their minds probably already racing to the fact that they would need to escape. Afterward, Hitler invited, or more accurately ordered, them to return to Germany to sing for him. This encounter became the final push for the von Trapps to leave Austria. As for their departure, forget the dramatic Alpine escape from the movie. They actually left by train, heading into Italy, thanks to Georg's Italian citizenship. While less cinematic, their departure was still an act of defiance. After leaving Europe, the family arrived in the United States in 1939 and began touring extensively as the Trapp Family Singers. This was a challenging cultural transition. They went from grand European concert halls to small American towns. They adapted by incorporating English songs, folk tunes, and madrigals into their repertoire. Some people suggested they modernize further, add electric instruments, or popularize their style. But Maria was fiercely protective of their artistic integrity, believing that their music should reflect their faith, values, and heritage. Their performances resonated with audiences, many of whom appreciated the family's warmth and tradition in a rapidly changing post-war world. Of course, life on the road was demanding. Traveling constantly placed a strain on family life, and as time passed, some of the children chose different paths. For example, Agata eventually became a kindergarten teacher, while Werner became a farmer. Their decisions showed that the family respected individual dreams, even when those choices led away from performing. Eventually, the von Trapps settled in Vermont and established the Trapp Family Lodge. This allowed them to share their Austrian heritage, their love of music, and their story in a more personal setting. The lodge still exists today, a testament to their enduring legacy. Beyond music, Maria's faith played a crucial role in shaping her life. After building a successful career and finding stability in America, she felt called to serve others. In the 1950s, Maria and 3 of her children traveled to Papua New Guinea, where they set up schools, provided medical aid, and shared their faith. This chapter of her life, often overshadowed by the movie's narrative, reveals her depth of conviction and compassion. Later, Maria returned to Vermont in the mid-1960s to manage the Trapp Family Lodge, channeling her energy into making it feel like home for guests. She blended Austrian culture with the Vermont landscape, ensuring the family's legacy continued in a meaningful way that went beyond the stage or screen. The Von Trapp story isn't just about music, fame, or the Hollywood version we all know. It's about resilience, faith, courage, and adaptation. Their journey from Austria to America, from performing to serving, and from world stages to a peaceful lodge in Vermont, is far richer and more complex than the film suggests. It reminds us that real life is messy, full of challenges and changes that shape who we become. I hope this deep dive encourages you to look beyond the polished Hollywood narrative. The Von Trapps' story shows that when we dig deeper, we often find a tale of strength, devotion, and purpose that's more inspiring than any simplified adaptation. If nothing else, let it serve as a reminder that true stories rarely fit neatly into the scripts we write for them. Thank you for listening. Please remember to subscribe for more like this.